So when we're talking about startup then, how are we sort of defining the different stages of what a startup does when it grows then, from kind of really starting out to actually a high growth business?
Well, I think that's a smart question, and you don't really realize it until you're kind of through the looking glass or until you've gone through it. But the way I think about it is really the market and customer traction, that how I think about the stages, and then therefore what's the plays, the programs, the role of marketing and the role of go-to-market in those phases. But that's what you have to determine, and it can be tough because if you go to founders and CEOs, they think they've got product market fit. Here we go. We just need pipeline. Well, that may not be the case at all. And we'll talk a little bit about kind of the things you have to do. Or you may get a VC who's, man, this business is not going or growing. So the pressure's on you all of a sudden to do this and the team. So the first thing I really think about is that first stage is, or shouldn't say first stage, but identifying where the company is in the market is, do you have product market fit? Does the product that you have enough traction and understanding? And is it what pains or problems or opportunities is it solving or enabling in the markets that you serve? And you should be in the product market fit 50 to 100 customers roughly at a mid-market, selling to mid-market and enterprises. If you're selling to small business, obviously that number has to be higher because you have to validate that you have the right solution, you're selling to the right ideal customer profile in general. And that's that balancing act at that first phase that's going to kind of determine your strategy and how you go about it.
Yeah, fine. And then the next stage then would be kind of moving on a little bit bigger than that, would be what sort of starting to build that sort of go-to-market engine then.
That's exactly right, man. And the things that are in consideration there that I learned that you can misstep is a lot of people think now that's our company. Let's go tell everybody our vision. And many times you have to actually segment. That segment means picking a couple of markets or vertical markets or a couple of use cases or problems you solve and do them really well. That's how you begin to scale. What happens to a lot of companies is everybody needs this, or you start to sell to everybody or think that you can sell to everybody. And that's pressure to get pipeline. You're hiring sales at this point. You need to feed the system. And so you try to turn on that engine to go too broad. Scaling, as we know in a building, this is the analogy I think of it, when you build up, that's how you scale. What can happen at this phase is you can actually push out, and you're scaling this way by adding salespeople, et cetera, but everybody's kind of chasing things. They're not going after a market that is more natural and defined.
Gotcha. So we've got our product market fit. We've got the sort of building the go-to-market engine. And then at what point do you know you are a high growth business then? How do we sort of define that?
Yeah, well, there's a couple things. Well, the numbers will tell you. The market will tell you.
You don't hear from the VC so often.
Yeah, exactly. Well, look, they're rightly so. They want to get a return. There's a lot of seasoned VCs out there that understand this process and understand the signals and the cues to look for. But what you're looking for is also today, especially in the software as a service, the SaaS, the recurring revenue model, you're focused on a couple of things now. One is you put team and an effort on expanding and selling to existing customers to help them scale, but also maybe introduce to other geos and business units. So about this time, you really have to have, people label it customer marketing. I don't really like that because it assumes some things. So I think this is more like your strategic account and your build out of teams that are going to focus on growing with those existing customers. And then you still need the new business engine. And in some ways, there are different processes that you have to think about. Again, I don't mean building massive infrastructures, but it's more aiming resources, building your analytics dashboards a little bit differently, and your programs and plays may alter based on what you're trying to do. And that's really when you're going from, okay, we're scaling this up to high growth and we're going to turn it on. You're still probably under 50 million in ARR, depending on the market, depending on your annual contract value and who you're selling to. But that's that phase. And then as you get in towards 100 million, and that's just a different play. And I've learned, or what excites me and what I really like, is that building phase to here. Once you get here, then you really have to have a different type of organization. Your tech stack and data model have to be at a different phase, et cetera.
Yeah, well, I can imagine it's the same for lots of different roles, but you do tend to find marketeers suit particular stages. Some marketeers are quite happy going in as that sort of first marketeer into a business and really get into that second point that you talk about. And then it's for them, it's, hey, look, I've really enjoyed that. It's been exciting, but I'm actually moving on to the next project. So that kind of makes sense in terms of where you see yourself as well.